It's 4:12 a.m. The sky above eastern Ukraine is still dark, punctuated only by the dull glow of distant artillery. In the early morning hours, as most of Europe sleeps, Ukrainian forces are on the move again. Their target, a series of Russian positions on the outskirts of Pokrovsk. The air hums with the sound of drones, the faint rumble of armored vehicles, and the steady rhythm of a counteroffensive that has come to define Ukraine's modern war for independence. In the past few days, Ukrainian troops have made remarkable progress across the Pokrovsk district in the Donetsk region. Reports from the Ukrainian General Staff confirm that more than 180 square kilometers have been liberated, and over 240 square kilometers have been cleared of remaining enemy presence. These aren't just numbers. They represent towns reclaimed, supply routes restored, and the steady push of a nation determined to take back its land. What makes this development even more significant is where it's happening. In the Okeratine sector, a zone that for months has been a symbol of grinding attrition and stalemate. But now momentum is shifting. Ukrainian forces have regained control over two key settlements, Kucherev Yar and Suketske. This marks a total of 9 liberated communities in the sector, with another 9 cleared of Russian sabotage groups. The operation has stabilized the area, turning what was once a volatile front into a strategic stronghold for Ukrainian defense. Over the past 10 days alone, the scale of Russian losses has been staggering. Ukrainian sources report that 1,756 enemy servicemen have been neutralized, along with 75 pieces of military equipment. The statistics paint a grim picture for Moscow's war machine: destroyed tanks and vehicles scattered across the landscape, broken communication lines, and disoriented infantry left without cover or reinforcements. When viewed over the last several weeks, the situation becomes even clearer. In just over 2 months, Russian and Allied forces have lost more than 15,000 personnel in this single sector. Nearly 1,400 pieces of weaponry and equipment have been destroyed, including tanks, armored fighting vehicles, artillery systems, multiple launch rocket units, and hundreds of logistical vehicles. Perhaps most tellingly, nearly 4,700 drones have been shot down. Each one represents not just lost hardware, but a blow to Russia's reconnaissance and coordination capabilities. Ukrainian commanders describe the current fighting as intense and unpredictable. The front lines around Pokrovsk are alive with activity. Small infantry groups attempting to infiltrate, drones hovering over urban blocks, and counter-sabotage units sweeping through abandoned industrial areas. Russian troops have tried to exploit interpositional gaps, using infiltration tactics instead of direct assaults, but those attempts have largely failed. Ukrainian counter-teams continue to intercept these groups before they can establish a foothold inside the city. At this hour, the battle for Pokrovsk remains fluid. Around 200 Russian soldiers are believed to be operating inside the urban perimeter, engaging in small arms skirmishes and hit-and-run attacks. But Ukrainian defense forces are firmly in control, maintaining steady pressure and preventing any significant enemy advancement. Their strategy is deliberate: contain, isolate, and dismantle one block at a time. In recent days, Russia has also increased its reliance on armored assaults across multiple sectors. Between last weekend and today, Ukrainian intelligence recorded over 40 armored attacks along the front. Yet, in nearly every instance, these assaults have failed. In the Pokrovsk direction alone, Ukrainian forces destroyed 1 armored fighting vehicle and 2 motorcycles used in an attempted push towards the city. Another armored vehicle was eliminated in the Balahan area shortly after it engaged. No vehicle from those operations made it back intact. This pattern reveals something deeper about the current phase of the war. Russia's approach, once characterized by large-scale offensives and heavy bombardments, is increasingly being replaced by smaller, riskier attacks with limited coordination. The high rate of losses in equipment and manpower suggests that Russian logistics are under immense strain. Ukrainian officials describe these attacks as desperate maneuvers, aimed more at slowing Ukrainian advances than achieving territorial gains. Meanwhile, Ukraine's exchange fund, The number of captured Russian prisoners continues to grow. This not only weakens Russian frontline strength, but also facilitates the return of Ukrainian defenders from captivity. Each exchange marks a moral victory for Ukraine, symbolizing both the resilience of its soldiers and the humane principles guiding its military operations, even amid the brutality of war. On the wider front, combat has been relentless. Yesterday alone, Ukrainian forces engaged in 181 battles with Russian troops, the majority concentrated around Pokrovsk, where 76 separate assaults were recorded. Despite the intensity, Ukrainian defenses held firm. Every attempt by Russian units to break through was repelled, and every armored push was met with decisive counterfire. Observers note that this consistency, the ability to withstand wave after wave of attacks, has become one of Ukraine's defining strengths. The nation's forces have evolved since the early days of the invasion, combining Western-supplied technology with homegrown ingenuity. Drone warfare, electronic countermeasures, and precision-guided artillery now form the backbone of Ukraine's battlefield strategy. These innovations have allowed smaller Ukrainian units to operate with efficiency and coordination that often surpasses their larger, more heavily equipped adversaries. The scenes emerging from Pokrovsk and Okrytyn tell a story of endurance and adaptability. Amid the shattered buildings and scorched fields, Ukrainian soldiers move with a quiet confidence. Many have been on this front for months, fighting through long nights and relentless shelling. Their resolve has not waned. Every liberated settlement, no matter how small, becomes a symbol of defiance, a message to the world that Ukraine refuses to yield. The human cost remains heavy on both sides. Yet for Russia and its allies, the losses are becoming unsustainable. Thousands of troops have been killed or captured, and even more wounded. Equipment shortages are forcing Russian commanders to rely on outdated vehicles and improvised weapons. The destruction of thousands of drones in particular has crippled Russia's ability to gather intelligence and direct artillery strikes with accuracy. Without that advantage, their offensive efficiency continues to decline. For Ukraine, every victory, however localized, has broader implications. Each kilometer retaken weakens Russia's strategic posture, disrupts its supply networks, and boosts Ukraine's negotiating position on the international stage. The liberation of the Pokrovsk district also strengthens Ukraine's hold over critical transportation routes and industrial zones, areas that will be essential in rebuilding the region once the fighting subsides. But perhaps most importantly, these victories strengthen morale. In a war where psychological endurance is as vital as ammunition, the knowledge that the front is moving forward, even slightly, keeps spirits high among Ukrainian troops and civilians alike. Videos from liberated areas show residents emerging from shelters, waving flags, and welcoming soldiers with tears and embraces. For them, every meter of reclaimed land is home restoration. On the Russian side, morale appears to be crumbling. Reports from intercepted communications suggest increasing frustration among lower-ranked soldiers, many of whom have been deployed without proper training or equipment. The loss of key armored assets has further eroded confidence. Even within pro-Russian channels, discussions of strategic withdrawals and temporary losses have become more frequent, euphemisms that reflect a broader retreat in both territory and conviction. Still, Ukraine's commanders remain cautious. The situation on the ground is fluid, and while recent gains are significant, the enemy remains formidable. Russian artillery continues to pound Ukrainian positions, and air attacks persist along the front. But the difference now lies in Ukraine's response, measured, coordinated, and adaptive. The Ukrainian army no longer reacts merely to survive, it maneuvers to win. The fighting around Pokrovsk may appear as one battle among many, yet it encapsulates the larger transformation of this war. It illustrates how a nation under siege has turned endurance into strategy and adversity into momentum. Ukraine's forces are no longer defined by defense alone. They are shaping the battlefield, dictating its tempo, and steadily reclaiming what was taken. As dawn begins to break over Donetsk, the smoke of battle hangs low on the horizon. Ukrainian soldiers regroup, their silhouettes outlined against the faint light of morning. Some share brief moments of rest, others prepare for the next wave of missions. The radio chatter continues, filled with reports of cleared sectors and destroyed enemy convoys. There's exhaustion in their voices, but also quiet determination. They know this is not just another day of fighting, it's another day closer to regaining peace. From the outside, the statistics, liberated kilometers, destroyed vehicles, and captured prisoners can seem abstract, but on the ground, they mean something deeply tangible: the restoration of life where war once ruled, the reconnection of power lines, the reopening of schools, and the simple return of safety to people's doorsteps. Each step forward in Pokrovsk is a testament to the price of freedom, paid in courage, strategy, and sacrifice. And as today's operations continue, Ukraine's message to the world remains the same: resilience prevails. Against overwhelming odds, the country's defenders stand firm, turning loss into learning and setbacks into renewed determination. The war may not end soon, but the tide is shifting, and with every passing dawn, Ukraine's victory inches closer to becoming not just a hope, but a reality.